Hey everyone, it's Bertha and I'm here now. This is my review for Flight Risk, the new film directed by Mel Gibson, and starring Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Dockery, and also Topher Grace in the lead roles. Now, there is a very infamous interview that Mark Wahlberg did probably a decade and a half ago, where he revealed that he was supposed to be on one of the flights that got hijacked on September 11th. Now, in that same interview, he also told that if he were on that flight, he would have not let the hijacking happen. Now, he obviously apologized for those comments later on, but while watching Flight Risk, I could not help but think about that interview throughout the whole movie. Now, in the beginning of this film, I forgot which character was telling this, but they said that this flight would take around 90 minutes long. And ironically, this movie is around 90 minutes long. I thought that this film was going to be cheesy and tongue-in-the-cheek in that kind of way, where they're very meta and talking about, the movie itself in this kind of like meta kind of way. So there's other points in the film where I think it's Michelle Dockery's character, where she asks, how much time do we have left on this flight? And they're told that there's 30 minutes left, or 20 minutes left, or 10 minutes until landing. And ironically, that's how much time left in the film there was when the character was asking that question. So again, I thought that this film was going to be cheesy in that kind of way. Flight Risk has been delayed so much. I remember it was supposed to come out way back in October, then it got delayed to around Christmas time, and finally it's coming out pretty much at the end of January of 2025. And I watched the trailer. I thought it was fun. I thought this movie was going to be a silly, fun, kind of over-the-top thriller. What I ended up getting was a very silly film, but a mediocre one at that, and also a very hammy movie at that too. Now, when it comes to Mel Gibson as a director, he's directed decent films in the past, but I will say this outright, Flight Risk is probably the worst film that he's ever directed, from whatever I've seen so far. Flight Risk is such a misfire, and it's such a weird movie too, because it is a chamber drama for the most part. We are stuck in this cockpit of this flight for pretty much 95% of this whole movie, and we're dealing with these three main characters as the only characters that we get to see throughout the whole story. We get to hear people on the phone, and we get to hear people on the intercom on the headsets of the airplane, but for the most part, it's pretty much Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Dockery, and Topher Grace that are leading the way in terms of the story. And there are bits and pieces of the movie that work, and the landing sequence was actually kind of thrilling, but overall, this is such a mediocre and very misfired film. Now, in terms of his recent performances, I would say that Mark Wahlberg has tried something different here, and even though it's not an amazing performance, he's playing the sadistic kind of violent villain here. When it works, it kind of works, but for the most part, he is very hammy here. He's very over the top, and his dialogue delivery is kind of like a cartoonish villain in a way. Maybe he was supposed to be that kind of character throughout the whole movie, but I kind of felt it was a little bit out of the place at times. And even though he is the title starring role in this movie, I would say he's more of a supporting character, and it's mostly Michelle Dockery and Topher Grace that are leading the way. But yeah, I thought that Mark Wahlberg was decent when he was at his best here, but for the most part, this is a very hammy villain role. And yeah, I do appreciate that he's tried something different in comparison to his recent roles. It doesn't feel like anything else that he's done in recent past, but I was kind of hoping for something along the lines of Fear in terms of the villain role that he was going to play here. But we ended up with something very hammy. Now, Michelle Dockery is pretty much the main star of this movie. I think she's done as good of a job as possible with the script that she's given. But her performance is kind of weakened because of the script. And I think that even though she is the best part of this whole movie, it's kind of the script that backfires for her. When it comes to Topher Grace's character, he's very talkative. He's kind of annoying at times. And the comedic one-liners that he has pretty much only work near the end of the film. But for the most part, again, same thing as Michelle Dockery and Mark Wahlberg, they're kind of backfired because of the script that they're given. But yeah, sadly, this is a very disappointing watch. I give this film a 4.5 out of 10. Again, I'm very surprised at how bad this movie is. The CGI is very shoddy at times, though the Alaskan mountainous region is shot beautifully well. For the most part, this is a thriller that's not really that thrilling, and it's a very hammy film. And I'm just surprised that Mel Gibson delivered a film like this when he's delivered films like Braveheart and Apocalypto. But yeah, sadly, not on the level of his previous films, and even Hacksaw Ridge, I forgot about that film. That was a great movie too. Surprised that he directed something like this, but yeah, very disappointing. Not that great of a film. Pretty mediocre in my personal opinion. 4.5 out of 10. If you want to see it, go see it if you can.